JJ.
Well, hi, Natalie.
Oh my gosh, your voice sounds cracky.
I know it's my sexy frog voice.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know you were bringing the sexy back. Oh, that's Justin Timberlake. You know what? Okay, so apparently you've got a little bit of the cold, but there was no way we were rescheduling this one.
No way.
No way. So everybody will know that your sexy voice. They'll be like, oh, that's JJ again. But you know what? Enough about your illness, apparently, because you're
Yes.
down there living in the Keys, living your best life.
Mhm.
We have an amazing guest today.
We do.
Oh gosh, I love Korene. She
True.
is, I want to know at some point, I'm going to ask Korene after you introduce her, I want to know where Tutu comes from. Because Tutu cares. The Tutu. See, I see Corinne's in the background. She's like, oh, I know about that. So wait, hold on, Korene, hold on. So you're coming. But anyway, Korene, we are so happy to have you here. And Korene Carter is with us, and she has quite the caregiver journey. I mean, it's the most interesting story. And so, Jay, why don't you tell us a little bit about our sister in care?
I would be honored. And what she offers is something that I need. So I'll get to that part. Korene's journey started like us, totally by accident. We say she was drafted a little bit.
Yep.
A neighbor needed help and she stepped in. But it's interesting that Korene says helping allowed her to see what her place on earth is. So I love that. That's kind of guided her.
That feels good, doesn't it?
Kind of it does feel good. Helping a neighbor led her to help her own aunt and uncle. And from there, her story continues every day to unfold. Just a few things that she has done. Advocacy is at the top of her list. She has a network of caregivers in New York City, and she has built a care model that empowers families to take more control over the care process, which I think we all want a little bit of control in that process, which can feel insane.
That's like the details, getting the details of the
Here's
model.
Here's my favorite. She has developed a self-care community for families with caregiver responsibilities through Retreat with Me Jamaican Getaways as well.
Did you say Jamaica?
That's something I want to know about for sure.
I feel like we should go to Jamaica.
Yeah, I know. Korene, we cannot wait to hear about your journey and the other organizations that you are part of, that you lead. So we're ready. So we'll start a little bit with that neighbor. Tell us what exactly you were doing when you fell into the neighbor situation.
Ooh, all right. So I am from the Bronx. Yes, my name is Tutu. I'm from Bronx, New York. And I was a bit of a mischief child. So I was cutting school and hanging out. And in the neighborhood, there was this house that seemed to be abandoned.
Yeah.
And I was just hanging out in there, and come to find out, one day this old lady walks in and she's like, what are you guys doing in my house? And I'm like, this is your house? It couldn't be, because it looked completely abandoned. And she said, you have two choices. You can take care of me, or I can tell your parents.
Okay, Korene. Okay, I'm going to have to stop 13 times here. How old were you?
I was 16.
So you're 16 years old. You are, now let me ask you this, because I'm going to totally interrupt, because Korene jumped right into 16. Were you born in Jamaica? Because you have a fantastic accent.
I was born in Jamaica, but we were raised in the Bronx. I came here maybe 7 years old. So
okay,
yeah.
So I always like that. Okay, you were born in Jamaica. You came to the U.S. when you were 7. Came to New York, and then you are living your best childhood, adolescent life, messing around, maybe not being the model student necessarily, because you're just getting into some mischief. And so you said the house looked abandoned, and so it was you and your friends, and you stumble upon this lady, right?
Yeah.
And then and now what did your other friends, did she say the other friends had to do it, or were you just like, okay?
Oh no, they took off.
They took off and you stayed.
And because I'm Jamaican, we have a high respect for the elderly. So I just couldn't take off.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, so then I did what she told me to do, because the other option was a butt whooping. So do whatever you want to do.
I would like the minutes to reflect a butt whooping can happen anywhere. The South, see, we've had butt whoopings before as well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
you get your mom, your neighbors, like these
Absolutely.
kids nowadays, they're so disrespectful. Like you can't be disrespectful to your neighbors. Nowadays, it's like whatever. But back in the days, oh yeah, the whole neighborhood's getting you.
Yeah. And they're telling on you too. Everybody's watching you.
That's the truth. So what are the types of things that you did for her? You're 16. Did she have any family? Like, what was the deal?
Not that it was a, so I did everything for her. I took her to her appointments. She drove.
Yeah.
I cleaned her house. I helped her with her medication sorting out. I helped her. She had a small wound on her leg at one point, then we got rid of it. I did everything. I was her nurse. I was her straight up nurse.
Did your parents notice that you were out of the house a little more? And the people that you shared that information with, because you said you were a little bit of a rebel, did they see a transformation in you? Because that's got to change you a little bit.
No, well, I was still, nobody knew what I was doing. I was just doing it for her because I didn't want her to tell on me. So all I looked at it was like a deal. Okay, this is the deal. This is my secret. I got to take care of this lady.
Wow. Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's illegal, Jay. I'm pretty sure the Child Protective Services in New York would be like, yeah, they're really not allowed to do that. But
we'll
keep moving forward.
Not back then. You're like me, not back then.
Pushed into that. So how many hours, now I'm totally interested in this. How many hours do you think that you spent? Because you were going to school still, right?
Some days I wasn't going to school. I was still being mischievous. Now, Bronx, New York, at that time, in those early 2000s, schools were bad. Like you had to take off we had the metal detectors, you had to take off your belt, your shoes. It felt like a prison. So I never wanted to go to school.
Right.
And I actually didn't finish high school that way. I got my GED.
Yeah.
Because I said, if it's going to be a matter of safety and education, I prefer to be safe. I mean, it was very violent. So where I was at, if there's any listeners from New York City, we were like, there's Co-op City and then there's the Valley, right? So there's this bridge between the Valley and Co-op City that is like crossing a death bridge, because the gangs and the violence and it was just not a good environment for a teen. And then you had the Bloods and the Crips situation. You had, it was a lot going on. Yeah. And that was at the height of the hip hop culture and things like that.
No, you're right.
So, I had no desire to go to school.
So let me ask you this. I want to go a little bit further too. How many siblings did you have?
5.
Yeah. And you're living with your mom, and am I allowed, I want to ask, and if you don't want to answer, you don't have to, you don't have to answer anything, to be honest with you. Mom and dad, everybody's living in the same apartment house, et cetera. And so what's your birth order?
So I have, everyone's back to back. So it's boys, 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 girl, boy.
Oh, so you're the only girl.
I'm the only girl. That's adds to the shift. Like, okay.
But you're closer to the baby end of the spectrum.
That's what I was getting ready to say. She's closer to the youngest.
The spoiled only girl, yeah.
Oh,
wow. Okay, that says a lot. See, this is it's like, and the plot thickens. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this. Do you think that your going in and taking care of her was your own kind of protective way to say, okay, well, I need to do this instead of go to school where I don't feel safe. I'm going to do this instead because I feel like I'm doing something meaningful. Like initially it was, I'm afraid I'm going to get in trouble. I've been over here messing around, not doing what I'm supposed to do. And then it kind of turned into your reason for numerous ways. I mean, I feel like we're getting into a little therapy here, but don't worry, I'm not remotely qualified to have therapy.
It's fine. Well, you work with adolescents, right? That was your area. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah. Now in retrospect, now that Get it? Yeah. Yeah. That was it.
Because
Yeah.
I would think in really looking at it, this lady really potentially saved you in a couple of ways.
Wow, Natalie, this is therapy. Real. Yeah.
But I love you, Korene, but I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm like, it has to be.
She did. She did. Thank you. She did. She actually did. She saved my life. She really did.
Wow.
She sure did. And when I was doing these things for her, after so I did it for like a year. I was 17.
Yeah.
And then she passed away.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I got a call. Was it a call? Yeah, for a funeral. So I went to her funeral.
Mm-hmm.
And how this person got my number, I don't know. And her daughter was there. And she was like, "Thank you for taking care of my mother." And I said, "Well, where were you this whole time?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She told me, she said, "I'm adopted and we weren't really close and whatever. And it was just heartbreaking. It was a sad day, right? But after that day, I said, okay, I really like what I was doing for her. Let me find out how I can. Now, let me say this though. Just because I didn't go to school doesn't mean I wasn't learning. So I was still educating myself.
Absolutely.
Like go to the library and read books and, find my path. So I went and I got my GED, and then I went to Bronx Community College. Actually, they had a program together where you get your GED and your associates.
Yeah.
So I went in there and I started out on the education pathway.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were doing some very interesting things with teaching kids things in school. At that time, they were trying to introduce some things that I wasn't comfortable with.
Right.
So I said, okay, I'm not going to go that route. Let me see if I can find something in the way that I was doing with Miss Laconia, what's her name?
Mm-hmm.
So I took the nursing program, right? And I did well. I was an honor student. When it came down to the last semester, I did a stint at Montefiore Hospital in the Bronx, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I did a bedside aid thing where back then, I say back then like I'm that old, but back when,
way back then,
back in the day, we used to walk 15 miles to school. I went in and did a bedside at Montefiore, and at that time, they used to restrain patients in the hospital.
Right.
And then they just started to stop doing that. So then they introduced this whole bedside aid thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would watch people bedside, and I'm watching the nurses, and they're just pushing meds. They're just busy and they're pushing meds. There's no patient interaction, right? As much as I thought there would be based on my experience from working in the home. So I'm looking at the nurse. I'm like, I don't want to be a nurse. I like what I was doing over there. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know home care was a thing. I didn't know that was an actual job. So I went back to school, and then I started talking to my professor, and they're like, yeah, well, that's the thing. And you want to go down that route? That's a whole nother income bracket.
Yeah.
I said, we'll see, because I think I could make it, I think I could make it work.
Yeah.
So I stopped and I went to VNS. At that time, VNS, Visiting Nurse Service of New York, is like the biggest home care provider in the state. And they had the best program for training, right?
Right.
So I took the training. It was the best training. I felt like it was way better than the pre-nursing school thing, right?
Yeah.
Because it was hands-on. It was what I was used to. It just felt like I was actually doing something. The front line, now what we know as the front line now, right, was just more appealing to me. So I did it, and then I started working for a sister company to VS, and I got a patient. I don't want to call them a patient. I like to call them consumers, because they're consuming a service. So I got a consumer close to, inside Co-op City, which is like right where I live, near the Valley area, Gun Hill. So across that bridge is Co-op, right? So I got my first client there, Miss Keaton. Miss Keaton, she was a Southern gal.
Let me ask you this, Korene. How old were you at this point?
I was about 17 and a half.
So 17 and a half. So I think that's kind of important to note because there's like so many things to unpack.
There's a lot.
Like in the sense of like, I feel like, I mean, you almost seem like care really like saved you, and it just resonated with you. It was like you have such a servant heart, and so you're after you cared for the first lady, who it makes perfect sense that she took you in. The fact that her daughter was adopted, her being a foster parent, she saw something, and I'm not surprised by that at all. Just having worked with foster kids.
Natalie's unpacking bags.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh my gosh. But so then you go and you're like, I want to do this. And you're eventually working your way back into a direct care position because you're like, I want to keep doing this.
Yeah.
Because it meets, how did it make you feel? I guess is my question.
Made me feel great.
I love that.
And I think mostly because I had a really close relationship with my grandfather. Right. And he was a rebel. Like I think I just like badass old people. I think there's something there. So Miss Keaton was a badass old lady. So she was a Southern girl. She was like, we just had a blast. Like it didn't feel like work. It just really, it just like I was just getting a whole bunch of education, and it was just free life skills. Like it was just really, really great. She used to smoke cigarettes, and she pretended as though I didn't know she smoked cigarettes. I mean, we used to go to Macy's. There's this bus that goes from Co-op Cities to Queens bus, because Co-op City is like, if anybody knows, please check the map. Co-op City is like its own little city. It's actually, fun fact, it's a NORC, which is a naturally occurring retirement community, right? And it's actually the largest NORC in the world. And the people who, meaning that naturally occurring, mean that the people who bought into it, they ended up retiring there, as opposed to what we're seeing now, where they're building retirement communities, right?
Yeah. Huh.
So it's right on the edge of, you can get to Queens, you can get to Manhattan. So they got this little bus that goes over the bridge that goes to Queens and to Macy's. So we would get on the bus to Queens, to Macy's, and that bus ride, I mean, it was just me and her, the bus drivers, the people. She's hilarious. I mean, if you come on the bus, like this guy one time, he came on the bus, he had on these little yellow pom shorts. If anybody knows what pom pom shorts is, if you don't, come to my retreat and you'll see some. She's a roaster. Like she roasts you. She'll roast the hell out of you. Like she's hilarious. So anyway, I had fun with her, and she, like I said, she smokes cigarettes, and that eventually is what brought her down. And when she was towards the end of her life, she went on hospice she went to hospice. She didn't do home hospice, right? So her daughter called me and she's like, Deborah, she's like, Korene, my mom wants to see you. She wants you to be the last one in the room, blah, blah, blah. So I went and I talked to her, and we just had a very good spiritual moment. And that was it. It was a farewell.
So you've got a combination at this point. I don't mean to interrupt. You've got a combination at this point, because when you were caring for your first lady, it was clearly not paid. You were not getting paid. She was probably intermittent feeding you. And yeah, you guys, did you ever spend the night overnight to care for her at any time? It was all just during the day. So she was able to do that. And then you get into paid caregiving, but because I mean, paid caregiving is paid caregiving, right? And so you did get reimbursed for that, but you get drafted in again to unpaid caregiving, right? When you go with your aunt and uncle, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, it started off unpaid, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. So fun fact now, this goes in line, because Miss Keaton lives in Co-op. My aunt and uncle live in Co-op. So like I said, it's a NORC. So there's a bunch of these people.
Yeah.
These you know? So my aunt and uncle, my aunt, she's rebel. Jamaican people are just rebels. If you know the
Oh, so
history.
Jamaicans are rebels. I don't know that I can title that Jamaicans are rebels, although it might get a lot of people to listen.
That's
Yeah,
true.
you can title that, because actually, even like during the slave trade, we were one of the people who would resist. And actually, we have our own little town, the Maroons, and there's like this whole history in that area, the nanny of the Maroons, right? In that area of Portland, that's exactly where I host my retreats, because, you know, it's just the whole rebel vibe and, you know, letting go and escaping. So yeah, we're actually, fun fact on that. But my aunt, she was another badass old lady, and she likes to travel and do things. She doesn't like to be held down. She has her, you know, she was a dietitian at Einstein Hospital. That's actually where she got my dad his job as a porter. And so she's the one who brought us all to this country. Let's say that.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
So
that's very important.
Got it. All right. We have her to thank. Thank you, aunts.
Yes, auntie. That's why I knew I had to take care of her, because without her, I would probably be somewhere in Jamaica, not living my best life, because Jamaica's so it's a country that's struggling economically.
Yes.
And when you're able to get out of that, it's definitely a blessing that you should not take for granted. So I really appreciate her for that.
Yeah.
And so she would do these excursions where she would go to Fordham Road and do shopping, and with her little drag bag, right? So my family started noticing that she's going shopping with her little drag bag, but there's nothing in the bag, right? And she would just go, and then we get calls like, oh, your auntie's on Gun Hill just wandering. And then it came to the conclusion like, okay, she has dementia.
Wow.
She has dementia. And so everyone's like, okay, who's gonna go? She's gonna go, of course, Korene. She's gonna go. So I went, and I told her, I said, all right, we're about to do this. We're about to take over this whole thing because you have dementia. She has her husband, right? Her husband is very laid back, but he was a bit of a ladies' man. Actually, he was a lot of a ladies' man. He had a lot of women. He had a pool of women. Okay.
We digress on that one.
The reason this is important, because the reason why, okay, so when I started to go in there, my family's like, okay, help, but don't help him. Right. And it's because they have this grudge against him because he has these bunch of women. But I said, okay, well, that's her, that's her man. That's her man's in him. You know, that's who she chose, and that's what she wants. And they're old, and you know, they come as a package. You can't disrespect that package.
Yep.
My mom doesn't listen to this podcast. Because I'm going to say a lot. Because we have to educate, inspire, and laugh, right?
Yes.
So she came together as a package. So I was fighting with family about, you know, this whole togetherness.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have dementia. He has nothing really wrong, nothing really going on with him. He has a problem, but he's pretty cool. He does his thing. He just eats. That's one thing. He just sits in this one chair and he eats. So I was taking care of her. I helped her get Medicaid. I helped her sign up for consumer-directed care, which is important because consumer-directed care means that you, the consumer, can direct your own care, hire who you want, and manage it just how you want.
Hey, ladies, I need to interrupt for just a second to share about the Sisterhood membership. It's basically a sale every day. And the best part, it's free. Here's the details. We're partnering with our friends at Benefit Hub and other care partners to save you money. With over 200,000 participating companies across the US and abroad, you'll find discounts at your favorite local stores, huge savings on vacations, amazing deals on home, auto, and supplemental insurances, and everything in between. Go to confessionsofareluctantcaregiver.com to sign up, and then definitely tell your friends about it. They can join too. Trust me, there's a discount for everyone. And don't forget, it's free. Okay, back to confessing.
So
let me ask you, let me ask you a question on that.
Yeah.
So consumer directed care is an option, because this is the educate part. Individuals who, especially who are on Medicaid, can choose to direct their own care and have a certain amount of funds to go towards approved care related expenses, or you can just contract with a home health agency to do certain types of services for you in general. And they are the ones who pick the people who come to your home to support you, correct?
Yep. And then you know, traditional home care, you kind of cycle out. It's like, okay, send somebody. Oh, I don't like them. Send somebody else. CDPAP, it's like, oh, I know this person can do it, so I choose her and let her do it. And so, but I want to rewind a bit.
Sure.
How we found out about CDPAP was someone called me to work with a woman in her 40s on what's the name of that island? Randall's Island. Is it Randall's Island?
It's in
whatever. It's in between Manhattan and Queens.
Yep.
So she was young. She got shot. She was paralyzed, and she hired me. And then under CDPAP, which I didn't even know existed, because remember I was doing the nurse service partner.
You're 18 at this point.
18, yeah, we're getting up there. So 18, didn't know anything. Started working for her, and what made me switch over was under this program as an aide, you get paid way more, like 3 times more. So I was like, okay, this is way better, and it's way better. So then she had me hiring people for her. She had me, you know, basically I was just running her whole back office for her. Mm-hmm. And then that eclipsed to me helping her people find people, mm-hmm. her neighbors. Because on that island, a lot of people who have disabilities. So I think that's also a NORC in that area too. So that there, and then that transferred to me getting a call from my family about my aunt.
Yeah.
So I started with her, and then I immediately signed her up because I was familiar with the program mm-hmm. for CDPAP. So at that time now, my aunt, she had a bit of money. So we were able to compensate me significantly for what I was providing for her, right? And at that time in my life, no, we're rolling forward. So at that time I was about, there's a lot of spitting. I had other clients, 18, 19, 20, this is going up. We're going up in age. The aunt right. is more up in age.
Okay.
We're rolling, right? I've recruited, I've done all that, I've done that. Now the aunt is the last piece, right? So that was a lot of fast forwarding. So the aunt at that time in my life, I was in my late 20s, right?
Okay.
And so I started taking care of her. And at that time, my family, we wanted to move out of the city, right? And I actually signed my uncle up for consumer care as well. Mm-hmm. So then I'm like, okay, well, if we're going to move, let's find out what we can do in the South. If we come to North Carolina, let's find out what we can do in the South. There's nothing like that exists in the South on that robust level, right? So I'm like, okay, well, let's take what we have, the funds, and let's move them down, and let's all have a better life, right? Mm-hmm. So we pack everything up. We're ready to go. She's very much declined at this point. Now it's she's in a chair. Her behavior is she's completely back to a baby. She's cursing up a storm. My daughter, I had a child at that time. Things are speeding up. My daughter starts picking up these curse words. She's like effity, effity, f, 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 because she's got the effity, f, f, f in her mouth. So that was interesting. And I said, okay, let's move this around a bit, right? Let's get her a place. I'll get a place, and we'll manage it that way. And my mom was coming too, right? Because it was becoming a lot at this point, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm a professional caregiver, and it became a lot. So that should tell you it's a lot. So I said, okay, it's so much harder on the other side of the family caregiver side. Yeah. So now family caregiver and a professional caregiver.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is caregiver overload. And my mom, she didn't want to hear that. She's like, well, you're caregiving for everybody else. You need to just do everything like you've been doing, and just, because this is when she was like, okay, let's move her into our house. I said, no, we got to move her in another house, and I'll be over in this house, and then we'll coordinate what we're doing, and we'll get her a professional caregiver, and we'll spin each way. Right.
So were you guys living together at the time?
Nope. She was still living in her house because her husband, he was cool. He was walking around, he's doing his thing. So he was able to do the night stuff. But when it got too late, like, down where she's like, her behavior is down, she's in the chair. Now she needs nighttime. Now she needs.
Oh, yeah. So her needs are increasing, and you're seeing, hey, we're going to have to do more.
Yeah. And I can't live with her. She lives in Co-op City. And there's, I had no intention to, the house. And I said, plus if we're going to do this, we need more space, because she lived in a NORC, naturally occurring retirement communities. They're not built for the disabled, not built, they're not accessible, I should say. They're not accessible.
Right.
So there's a lot of things that needs to be changed. So I said, okay, we're not breaking down doors and putting ramps. We're not doing that.
Right.
Let's leave. So we pack up, we're ready to go. And my uncle, he still has his chair there. And we got everything in the U-Haul. He's got his chair. It's literally a blank house with a chair and a TV. That's how he wanted to move things. He's like, I'm not going anywhere. Ever. So I'm like, buddy, old pal, what do you mean you're not going anywhere? Are you serious? No, I'm not going anywhere. So I'm like, wow. Oh. So now my mom and my family, just leave him. I'm like, how? How can I just leave him? True story. So I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this now? I'm going to be a long distance. How's this going to work?
Oh, yeah.
So I moved her. We got her apartment in Durham, and I live in Cary. And we coordinated. It was a lot. My mom didn't drive. It was crazy. It was actually crazy. It was really crazy because yeah. So I was driving back and forth, and I was trying to. Then my brother came to help out a little bit, and then, I'm paying caregivers, and then I'm managing funds, and then everyone's like, how come she's managing funds? You had that whole thing, and then it was like just a lot.
Yeah.
And then I still have my uncle, so I had to hire someone there to take care of him. Forget about unpacking the truck, And so I had this little table, right, next to his chair, right, and he's got like peripheral blind. He's peripherally blind, so everything has to be where it's supposed to be.
Right.
And the caregiver that I hired, and this is important, the caregiver that I hired, I know her for years, right, but she's never worked with me. She's kind of a friend caregiver, and I don't like to hire people that are my friends, but this time I did. So I hired her, and because she was working for an agency, she's older than me. She's an older woman, way older than I am. And she's used to working for the agencies. The agencies will tell you, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. And sometimes you wonder, why do I have home care? What are you here for? What can you do? Right?
That's a good question.
And then they'll say, check in with this, check in with that, check in with that, right? So she's used to these home health rules, right? Under CDPAP, now I'm the boss, and I'll tell you how to run the show.
Yeah,
right?
when it's, and you use an acronym, so when it's consumer directed, the individual is the one who is giving the direction to the person who they're reimbursing for their service. Okay.
So I let you know, anything happens, because I had a time, there wasn't a lot of technology going on, but I had a book, like I ran it like a real serious show. It was just like I run my business now, but now I use technology. So you had to put certain notes in, then you had to do your body checks, you had to do, it's like a nursing home inside someone's house.
Mm-hmm.
So when she came in, she was doing that. And I told her, anything that happens, you have to call me. It's not like the agency where there's a protocol, like say somebody falls, there's a protocol where someone falls, you call 911, then you call the agency. Mm-hmm. I told her, I said, when if he falls or something strange happens, you call me, then we call the ambulance, right? I said situation. Because sometimes you don't want to go, it depends on the fall.
Yeah.
You don't want to go in and stress your body out as an old person, get poked, pulled around, you're in the ER, it's a headache, and you end up coming out worse than you did.
Absolutely.
From going in.
Yeah, because I will say this, just as kind of we're talking, it is very hard for anyone who has a complex illness or our aging population, our folks that as you age, it is hard to go to the ER. And our mom experienced that when she goes to the ER. We do not want our mom to go to the ER as much as possible because they don't understand her meds. They don't understand the frequency, and it is, respectfully to the ER folks, because you would think they would get it right. It's not done. And so it can be more traumatic, more dysregulating. And because your aunt had dementia, that's even more challenging. If you think about individuals with dementia and the symptoms and the change in location, change is hard. And that can have a negative impact on their health, even though you're thinking, oh, I'm taking them to the ER for care. And if they're not hurt, broken, all that, I mean, I know that you would probably say, of course, we're going to take them to the ER if it's bad enough and they broke a hip or dislocated a shoulder or something.
Right. So even, at that time, I did enough. I tell people, I'm a registered nurse, right? I just didn't finish the schooling, right? Yeah. And at that time, I knew processes and things like that. So I said, okay, no, the ER. So she moved the little table that was next to the chair.
Oh, yeah.
And he fell. And she calls me from the ER. I lost it. I lost it.
That was a kind way to put it, Korene. I like that. I lost it.
I straight up and down lost it. She was no longer, I totally lost my cool. Like, it was, the Jamaican came out like all the way. So I was like, yeah. And I was in North Carolina. So I had to fly up, and I had a conversation with her. I said, first of all, they took him to the wrong hospital, right? So in the book, I have hospital system he goes to, what doctors he has, and I encourage everyone that comes in the house, before you start the shift, read the book and familiarize yourself with the book. And then, so there's a process, but like I said, I'm not going to really, I can't blame her, right? Because she's a home health aide that works for an agency. And this is where I want to educate the audience. Home health aides that work for an agency, they are taught to do things a certain way. And it's not always the best way for the consumer, right? Doesn't make sense. I want to say that, right? So when you get a home health aide that comes in, it's very important for you, even though you might say, oh, they got training, they should be, each house is unique and individual. Just like when somebody goes to a long-term care facility, they have they do this whole assessment into the person. They even have the activity coordinator get involved and see what kind of things they like. They try to tailor a specific experience inside the facility, even though the broader spectrum of things has its own status quo. So you, the family members, should take that same stance for health. Make a tailored situation for your loved one so that the aide has an idea, and it also helps them feel good as well, so they can figure, they're less likely to make that mistake, and at the same time makes them feel more connected to the right? So she did
and
that.
And I do want to say this. I think individuals, whether you do consumer directed or you use a home health, I think your past experiences kind of give you like what I hear you recommending for other caregivers, your family caregivers, your unpaid caregivers. That's, really who's listening, who your audience is here with us is, it's the little things that help to make the individuals who come in who want to support you as a caregiver. Because I know Emily would leave us a laundry list of things about that mom needed to do, even though she was our mom and we knew things, but Emily was it with her day in and day out. And it's that little book of here's the basic things that you need to know to be successful in providing. Honestly, it's like whether it's providing care or providing respite so that I can take a break. Yep. These are the things you got to know.
Yeah.
Whether they're a paid individual coming in or an unpaid, right? And that sounds like that's one of the things that need to be, that's a must do for family, right? Regardless of
must do.
Uncles, cousins, all that.
Right.
Must do. So she called from the hospital. I got there. I told her, I explained to her what was wrong. We went through that. And then he was transferred from there to a rehab.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the rehab, he fell numerous times. And, at this point, I can't utilize CPAP because he's in a facility.
Right.
And then he has that 100-day thing with Medicare. So we're trying to hurry up and get him out. And so then I had to hire somebody privately to sit bedside for a little bit. Right. Thank God they had some money, so I was able to, but even that, it was difficult. They didn't have the wedges on the bed. So I went and bought wedges. And then I talked to, we did the whole nursing homes rehab spill. Mm-hmm. Director, I said, where's the bed alarm? Like, what's going on here? It's a madhouse. So I went in there, put all the systems in place that needed to be in there. And he just declined severely. And there wasn't enough traction to get him out. Mm-hmm. And then he ended up passing away in there.
Mm-hmm. So I have a question, Korene, because I know that you're long distance and you're traveling back and forth. And I hear your story as far as what's going on with them, but what's going on with you? Like, are you tired? Are you frustrated? I know you're frustrated, but you're trying to put this plan in place. And then he passes away because people aren't following this plan. So emotionally, mentally, physically, what's going on with you during this time frame?
Oh yeah, I was done.
I
was done.
Yeah.
I was done. This is an interesting part. I
missed that. I didn't hear.
I think my mom's
here. Okay. So you can't hear Korene. Korene just said she thinks her mom is there. Okay.
We all have to keep our secrets.
I feel like we can't hear you well, Korene, but I like how you whispered that. Okay. Because we're getting ready. Don't worry. If your mom's there, we're going to wrap it up here in a second. So
no, I
want to have you come back when we're
ready. She just can't hear this part. Go for it, Korene.
You were done.
Yeah, I was done.
You're crispy bacon.
I was finished. So my aunt is still, she's alive. She's there. We're taking care of her. And at this time, my aunt actually, she actually moved into my house with me. And that was insane. It was a lot. There was a lot going on and it was just too much. So I packed, this time I had a couple kids. I packed up my couple kids out of a marriage. This was one of the points where I was out of it. And I packed up my kids and I went to Indonesia.
Oh my gosh.
You guys were not ready for that.
And on
left.
part 2 of Korene's confession, you moved to Indonesia. Well, all righty. Did you move or did you just take a temporary break, Korene?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Yes.
I picked up my stuff and I moved to Indonesia. I did.
So who took care of your aunt? So, because we are getting towards the end of our time because I don't want to be rude, but I'm like, otherwise we'll have like a 4-hour podcast, which is hilarious. So but here's the thing. JJ's question was really, I know that you said it was too much. It was crazy. You moved her in with you. How long did she live with you before you moved out? You moved her in and then you moved out. How long was she with you?
She was with me for a couple months. It didn't take long for me to lose it.
And so it just,
after all that, it didn't take long.
And so it had a negative impact on your relationship. It was having a negative impact on your kids. Is that correct? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah.
And so you said, okay, I've got to do self-preservation mode.
Yep.
Okay. And that's okay.
Yeah.
So did anyone else step up or did you place your aunt in a facility?
No. My mom, because she was in my house and my mom lived right next door to me.
Yeah.
So they just took over, but they were mad. Like,
that's okay.
Where are you going?
Yeah.
Well, you were the caregiver and that was the family expectation. I mean, you've got some culture pieces here is what I keep hearing is there's a lot of expectation. You sound like you take care of everyone, to be honest with you, Korene.
Well, and I think even, you said you're an RN without the degree, but it automatically defaults to typically it's culture, it's a female, but you've got some training. So they think, so you've got the background. So that just makes you the best person, although you've got siblings and they may have other family members. So that's really interesting. Yeah. How long did you stay in Indonesia?
For a year.
Okay. You came back, obviously. So how did you get to where we are today?
Yeah.
Okay. So fast forward, I came back and then I started my business.
Gotcha.
Which name of your business?
Oh, Tutu Cares right
That's
now.
Right. Okay, Tutu Cares because you go by Tutu. So yeah.
Yeah. So Tutu means grandma in Hawaiian.
Yeah.
That's what it means. And so I started recruiting for people that primarily have CDPAP services, and then I started helping families coordinate their care. So I'm a care coach as well as a caregiver recruiter. Then I got some jobs working with some companies, and then went back to, I still worked for myself, but I'm really going into the space of trying to solve this staffing issue right now.
Oh, well, let me tell you, if you can figure it out, every healthcare agency in the country would love you, regardless of if you work with the aging population or you're in mental health, because I can tell you it's hard to find staff, especially individuals who want to do direct support. Because it's a hard job. I mean, here's the thing. I think that's really important as we're thinking about this. It's hard for trained, paid caregivers to do caregiving. I think that's so important. That's what I hear you saying over and over, because your journey was, I started out where somebody saw that I needed something. And I just fell right in line. It was everything that you loved. And then you evolved into making this a profession. But even in the context of, or as you're taking care of family members while also, being paid in other things, it was hard. And that's what I keep hearing you say. It's hard. It's okay to acknowledge it's hard. And sometimes you have to go to Indonesia.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Take a little break.
Because you took a break. But here's the funny thing. Korene, you came back to caregiving. Whether you're paid or not, I don't care. This is the thing. Because we know family members now, there are funds, there's ways that you can be paid. Okay. There are ways that you can be paid to try to help with the cost, because on average, I know those studies come out from the AARP, providing care can cost an individual between $10,000 and $12,000 a year. And it's actually impacted race impacts the cost of care as well. If you're African-American, it goes up. If you're Hispanic, it goes up. It's crazy. You would think why are the costs
It's different across the spectrum.
It's exactly right. And so I think that's what I hear you telling me, in the sense of, and it speaks to your character and who you are, that you came back to care.
Yeah. It's important. I mean, it's a problem. There's a lot of people who need it, and we can't ignore it as a society. So over the weekend, as I started, I don't know if that was recorded, that part where I had a very long weekend, 3 days, where we did like a startup weekend. And I'm really focused on the bigger picture at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm doing micro stuff, but it's not really that there's not enough caregivers. It's how they're placed. Mm-hmm. So, I'm working on some technology of how they're placed. Mm-hmm. And the problem is really doesn't need to exist. And the solution is very simple. And I really can't wait until you guys see the monster coming.
That's awesome.
So I hear, constantly, and I know we've talked to Mike George with Soaring Families, and I think this is really a key takeaway, Korene, is that as when you do consumer directed, when you're able, or even any type of advocacy that you've done, is to make sure it's clear. It's not just someone's coming into your home, but you really have to define what that family member or what that person you're caring for, you have to set those boundaries on what they need and where your boundaries are. Because I think that's where
the expectations. I think the word is expectations. Yeah.
I think that's where so many caregivers get that frustration. And I know that's the experience with Emily, where it just wasn't defined enough. We thought we didn't have the right to define. And that's what families have to realize, is they do have the right to set those expectations with paid caregivers, or even doing, or
even other family members.
Yeah,
JJ. Remember Emily told us, she was like, I need you all to do this, this, and this, and this. If you are somebody as a family caregiver and you're the primary, and you don't feel comfortable setting the expectations, you're never going to get the relief that you need.
Right. People feel guilty about it. They're like, I don't want to impede, or I don't want to feel, don't let that go.
Yeah.
And know that they're there to support, even though it might not look that way. You have to just let go. I mean, you don't have to go to Indonesia, but you have to let go.
Yeah.
Jamaica, that's where you need to come to.
So you can go to Jamaica, which is the one thing we will promise.
I feel like we need to go to Jamaica.
So here's my question. So you have the, because I'm going to jump into the question, Natalie, because I've got to know this. I cannot. It's question time.
It's sister questions time, Korene. I just want you to know it's time for sister questions, and
so it is. And so Korene has a program that's a retreat program, which you may have heard her refer to, and in Jamaica. And just tell me, because I just want to know, and I want our listeners to be able to check into it. So how do I find out about that? What exactly is that? How long does it last?
So it's 7 days.
Oh, I'm in
the hills of Jamaica, Portland, San Jamaica, which is the safest, most beautiful part of Jamaica. Even Jamaicans go there for vacation, even though it's an island.
Yeah.
And we are on the hilltops in a 9-bedroom, 6-bedroom condos. We are seeing the Blue Lagoon. We're going to the waterfalls. We are going to the Boston Jerk, which is a very famous area for some jerk chicken. Are going to do breath work. Actually, I just had a recent partnership with a Kelsey from Durham. She's going to be doing the breath work. Healing, just put your eye covers on, lay on the grass, and it all go. We're gonna have some reggae music. We're gonna talk fireside chats. Probably I'll have some different guests at some point, but just releasing fireside, and just be. Turn your phone off. And one of the key important parts here is, if you do come to the retreat, you get a $500 stipend to pay for your respite care.
Wow.
And if you are in need of a live-in caregiver, I can help you with that for that 7 days. I have caregivers on it.
Wow.
So you just really let go and just come and woosah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this, like, I feel like, so I did it because this is like my mini Indonesia. So this is what I did for myself on burnout.
Yeah.
So I just want to return the favor for others who are feeling the burnout as well.
Got it.
I love
So
it.
we definitely will make sure that we have all the link information
Yeah,
on that.
we're definitely going to need to have the link.
We're going to get all that, Corinne.
All right. So here's the last and best question. I always like to be selfish and say it. Corinne, what is your favorite guilty pleasure?
I drive in my car and blast Biggie Smalls.
Oh, I love it.
Are you singing or are you doing dancing or what's going on?
I am singing. I have my hijab on. I'm singing. I'm dancing. The people pulling up to me like, oh my God, I thought she was holy. And
I thought she was holy.
And I'm just 90s, just that's my guilty pleasure. And
I love it.
I love it as well.
Oh, Corinne, you're such a blessing. We love
Corinne,
you.
You are truly a blessing.
No, you guys, this was serious therapy. Whoever you guys listening, you need to be on the podcast. It's more than just, you need, Natalie just unpacked all my baggage. I'm going to go cry in the corner. I was trying to hold it together in the interview. I'm glad I did. And I'm going to go sit there and just release all of that, which she said. She's right. She's right on the, she's right on the money.
Oh, we love you, Corinne.
This was a great experience. Thank you for letting me confess. Wow, you guys, this is a great confession. You guys need to get on this and confess. Seriously, let it go.
I love it. I love it.
Well, thank everybody for listening with Corinne. Natalie, I've had a great time, and I think we should go to Jamaica. So
I think we're going to Jamaica, guys.
And here's the thing, we can shoot a podcast there too.
Oh my gosh, yes. Hello.
No
duh. That's clearly we're gonna have to do it. We'll call that work. So guys, thanks so much for listening. Until next time. Thanks much.